Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com. This is episode 25 of the video series where I critique and process your image. In this episode, we're taking a look at this image from John. I think this is a pretty cool image and something that many of us might take when we're out on vacation, so it would be a good image to do in this series. Now, those of you that watch my videos know I probably said many times is that when you're out taking pictures and you're presented with a scene, what you should do is determine what is the worst part of that scene. And whatever that worst part is, you want to minimize. Also, going along with that, determine what the best part of the scene is. What do you really want to show off? What do you want to exploit in that scene? And make sure that you use compositional rules, framing, uh, angle of view, whatever it takes to minimize what is bad and maximize what is good. Now, this image is just so close. And now, as I look at it, we really have a great scene back there. We have a boat. It looks great. We have that mountain. We have some nice clouds. We have some interesting rocks coming out from the corner here. We have a bird. The water, of course. But what I feel is the worst part of the scene is the bank right here, and it's taking up a significant part of the image. So, what I would have suggested to John if I was standing here with him is to get up to the edge of the water and eliminate as much of this bank as you can. It's not adding anything to the image, nothing at all. It's not there. It's not there's if there was a person here, so the bank is supporting the person, then you include the bank. But the bank isn't supporting anything important in the image. It's not adding anything aesthetically to the shot. So we have to minimize that bank. So we would get closer. Also, as I look at the scene, there's a pile of sticks here. I'm not so sure that's beautiful. Um, we have something I think is interesting over here. Now we have a log in this lower left-hand corner, and then a few rocks and a bird. And it is kind of pointing towards the mountain and the boat. So that's interesting. Well, how could we exploit all that? We like the mountain, the sky, the boat, and I like this as a um, a compositional clue for the viewer to help lead them through the image. So we have to try to arrange the composition in such a way that this actually is a strong compositional view. So what I would suggest you try to do if possible, now the bird would probably fly away, I understand, but get close, have like get right up in here somewhere and get really low. When you get really low, you could have this like log thing coming out of the corner of the frame, the lower corner of the frame. And if you line it up right and use the right focal length, you could get that pointed towards the mountain and the boat as the boat is coming through. And I think that would have been a really strong compositional clue to the shot. If the bird stayed there, that would have been a great visual weight shot. We would have had the big mountain, the smaller boat, and then the even smallest bird that's off towards the corner of the frame. And that I think would have been a very powerful image. Adding to that is when you get really low and shoot up at things, they tend to look more powerful. So you have this mountain back there, and if you're shooting more up at it, it's going to look even bigger and more ominous. So that really will add a lot to the shot as well. So that's something that you got to, go through your thought processes when you're out there. What is the worst part in the scene? Make sure you eliminate it. What is the best part? Make sure you exploit it. How are you going to exploit it? Well, see if there's some compositional clues or that are in the scene that you could use to help exploit what is great in this scene. So in this case, I think it's this. And you would get low, have it come out of the corner of the frame. It's going to be pointing. It's going to be a diagonal line coming out of the corner of the frame pointing to the best part of the image. And I think that would help a lot. Now, as far as the camera settings, uh, it's a bright day. ISO 500, I don't think you need at all. You should be at ISO 100 so you minimize noise. Now, I know you guys can't see this because I've been told, but there is quite a bit of noise in here, and that um, really detracts from the image. It takes away sharpness and takes away some clarity that is in the scene. So I would say if you could have shot at ISO 100, and again, I always talk about for a landscape shot, you'd like to be 2 to 4 stops up from wide open. Now, if, for example, we were able to frame this scene like I proposed, we get down here towards the left and so on, focus about a third of the way up in the scene, and use you want to be, 2 to 4 stops up from wide open. At 10 millimeters, you'd be around f8, maybe even push it to f11 so you get a little more depth of field. And that bird would be more in focus and the mountain back there would be more in focus. So shoot around f11. And you can see used incredibly fast shutter speed, a 1/8,000th of a second. There's really, I mean, the boat is moving, but I venture to say that that boat isn't moving so fast that it would be blurred if you were using a shutter speed of 1/500th of a second. So I would say ISO 100, f8, f11, and let the shutter speed land where it may. So you're going to be in aperture priority mode. Hopefully it's if, like I said, this boat isn't moving that fast. I wasn't there. So if I saw the boat and it was moving very quickly, I might up the ISO. I'd keep my aperture at f11 and I'd up the ISO then so that I get a fast enough shutter speed. And these are things I think with experience you get to know because, most photographers that are very experienced will know. They'll look at the scene and they'll know that they have to have, right away, they have to have a higher ISO to get a fast enough shutter. They'll know the relationship between shutter speed, aperture, and ISO kind of in their head, and they'll just be able to do it very quickly. So that's something that comes with experience. So, anyways, the shot, like I said, is so close. And remember too about things you want to make look ominous bigger. Try to get low and shoot up at them. This goes for mountains. It will go for people. If you're photographing a sumo wrestler, don't get up high and shoot down on them. Get low and shoot up at them, and they're going to look even bigger and more ominous. Things you want to show that they're powerful. A locomotive. Just go to like 500px and look up trains, and look at people's pictures, the best pictures of locomotives or the engines, and you'll see that people shoot up at them mostly. Makes them look more powerful. So things like that, keep that in mind. Now, as far as focusing, if I stood right here, I guess I'd focus on the boat. We could go over to library module if you want, and we'll go take a look at show focus points. And every time I do this, people says, where do I find show focus points? I did in a previous episode put the link for finding it, but Google's your friend. Just write, Lightroom plugin, show focus points. Okay, we use single point focus, focused right there. I think that's pretty good. I would have focused on the boat, same thing. I mean, excellent, very well done. So we're going to close the plugin. We're going to go up to develop. Now we're going to see what we could do with the image. Now, I don't like this beach, so I'm going to crop it. But before we do, let's do lens corrections. All right, now we're going to crop. And so I'm going to just drop from the corner here. And I want the boat, I want the boat on a rule of thirds point of intersection right there. We still have the bird coming out from the corner here. We still have quite a bit of the beach in there, more than I still like, but I think it's a stronger composition now. We, still have, and we have the boat is moving right to left, so we have it moving into the larger part of the frame. That's what you would prefer most of the time as well. So I like this crop. Now we did lose a lot of the mountains that were over here, unfortunately. That's why I think it would have been, it's much better to capture this in camera if possible. Let's see if we could sneak in some more of the sky up in there. Yeah, it's hard to say. So that's fine. Okay, so we minimized the beach best we could. We still have, I think, a very strong composition. One thing you want to try to avoid too, if possible, you don't want things overlapping Important things overlapping. In this case, we don't really have it, but I just want to mention it. We have this pile of sticks here, and then visually almost right behind it we have the boat. Then visually right behind that we have the mountain. You tend to like to separate things. Now in this case I have no problem with the boat being in front of the mountain. It adds to the image. But the sticks could be a distraction. They're taking our vision away from the boat, away from the mountain. So that could be, construed as, something you want to try to eliminate in the shot. Um, Again, it's there. What are you going to do? You're not going to have time to go move all these sticks out of the way, I know. So you do the best you can. So, okay, we're going to start processing it from here. Um, Now, what I typically do with highlights is I look for something I want that is a highlight in the scene that I want to make sure that I have some detail. So it's going to be either the boat in through here or the clouds up in here. So what I'll do is I'll go to the highlight slider and I'll bring it down. And I just bring it down till I see detail pop in. And it's popping in the boat and in the clouds around the same spot right about there. Now, first, I should say that the white balance is fine. I don't think we have to change any of that. Exposure's perfect. Not going to change any of that. Now, shadows, I tend to do the same thing. But in this case, there's nothing really dark in the image. I mean, that's so dark. Like how the clouds were so bright and I had to bring highlights down to get a little detail in there. There's nothing like that in the shadows. So I'm just going to open shadows up quite a bit because when I add contrast, it'll darken them up, quite a bit. So we're going to do clarity later. I'm going to add some vibrance. And you guys know I don't like adding a lot of vibrance. And I usually don't add any saturation. I'm not going to with this shot. We're going to go to tone curve and we'll go to medium contrast and then we'll go to strong contrast. I like strong contrast. We'll go with that. Now I'm going to get a quick white point by holding in the shift key and double clicking on the word whites. And I like that. And same thing with blacks. And I like that. And I'm just going to double check my blacks. I sometimes like my blacks to clip a little, and you can see how they're clipping a little there. It just adds a little more depth to the image, and it depends. I'd say most of the time I do like that to happen, and I like how it looks now. So I like that. Now at this point, I would probably send it over to a plugin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a virtual copy. And that virtual copy will send over to the plugin later, but I'm going to continue the processing in Lightroom for the image as is. So I'm going to bring up clarity, and you can see clarity increases contrast quite a bit also. So I really like that. Now we're going to go to the detail panel. I'm going to zoom in. We got quite a bit of noise, and I've been told you guys really, most of you can't see that on the video. I understand, but trust me, there's quite a bit of noise there. It's not gone even at 50. Let's go up to 70. Yeah, 70 looks pretty good. Let's go to 60. Okay, it's a little bit at 60, so I'm going to go to 65. Split the difference. That's usually what I do, try to dial it in. There's just very, very slight amount at 65, but that's good. Let's zoom out for a minute here. Let's zoom in. Now again, this was shot at an f-stop of 3.5, so it's not as sharp as it could be. Again, we want to be in our lens's sweet spot. F8, F11 in there somewhere on this lens. F5.6 even would be good. That would give you a sharper image. And, um, you know, I mean, that's just fact. I know somebody recently tried to argue with me on that. That's just fact. That's optics. You guys just Google, learn about optics, and there's no sense arguing with the old photographer from Buffalo about it. If you don't believe me, then don't do it. All right. But we're going to bring up sharpening. I'm going to bring up sharpening quite a bit since the image isn't really super sharp. All right. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to mask out the sky because we did add a lot of noise to the sky when I brought that sharpening up. So I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key in. It's Alt if you have a PC, Option if you have a Mac. And we're just going to put that up. What is white is being sharpened, and what is black is not being sharpened. So I like that. That looks pretty good. Now, we don't need to do anything with transform. Now, post-crop vignetting. You know, guys know I usually like to put a dark vignette. The You got to be careful when you have a blue sky like that because then it just kind of looks stupid to me if you go too heavy. So you want to be really, really careful on this. You just want to make it very light. You might want to feather it a little more if you have to. But I think that looks pretty good. What I'll do sometimes, because I don't want people, let's say, to look at this, is I'll get a brush or I'll get the vignette and I'll bring the exposure down in the vignette, let's say, and I'll come up from the corner like that. Just like that, just to darken this a little bit. Um, just helps, in my mind, I think it helps. So that is a finished image right there. I think that's done. Now, I mentioned that I typically would use plugins, and that's what I'll finish off with this image, this version of the image. Um, what I will do though, and I mentioned several times, I like to use Topaz Denoise to eliminate noise. But I found that it works better if we send the original image uncropped to it. If it has every pixel to look at to eliminate noise, it seems to work better. So I'm going to uncrop it. And we're going to just right click on it, go down to Edit, Topaz Denoise 6. All right, we're just going to click Edit. And it should, there we go. Now, it was a Nikon D7100, which there is no preset for that, but I found that these 1AW1s work well for the crop censored Nikon cameras. So we were at pretty high ISO. We're going to go to ISO 400, see what that does. And you can see it's still got some noise down in here. So we're going to go to 800. It's still got quite a bit of noise. So we'll go to 1600. Even though he shot at ISO 500, I disregard that. I just keep going here till I feel that the noise is gone. That's pretty good. In this add grain slider, I always bring that to 0. That looks good. I'm just going to click OK. So we got rid of noise. Now when we get back over into Lightroom, I'm going to copy the crop from the original image to this image so that we have the same exact crop. You'll see what I'm saying once it gets there. And that that virtual copy, I'll reset that, and that will be our base image to look at. That's the original unprocessed image. Then we'll have our totally Lightroom processed image, totally in Lightroom. And then we'll have this image, which I'll finish off in On1 Effects. And there is a free version of On1 Effects. It doesn't have all the filters that the paid version does, but you could check that out if you're interested in using On1 Effects. There's links always in below the video in the description, and on my website there's links for the description of the video and all that, so you could find this stuff relatively easy. All right, there is our Lightroom processed image, completely in Lightroom, and I'm going to copy the crop to the image we just did. So I'm going to click on our Lightroom image. I'm going to hold the Command or Control key in and click on that one. It's Command if you have a Mac, Control if you have a PC, and we're going to click Sync over here. And I'm going to check None, and I just want to copy the crop. So we're going to have the exact same crop between these two. Now this virtual copy is the one I made at a certain point. I'm going to reset it. All right, so there's our original image. There's our Lightroom processed image. Now we have this image that I just eliminated noise in Topaz Denoise with. Okay, now we have the crop copied over. And what I'm going to do now is send it over to On1 Effects. So I'm going to right click on it, go down to Edit In, and we're going to go down to On1 Effects 10. And we're going to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments because I cropped it. So in Lightroom, so I have to copy it over with that crop. So we're going to click edit. So it's making another copy. And it will open in On1 Effects. We'll do a smart photo. Smart photo means I could just come back in here and re-edit this if I want to at a later date. Okay, so what I like doing, especially when we have like the sun in the image, is I like to add a sunshine filter. And I kind of like that. That's a natural look. We have some presets for the filter here. I never like glow or sun glow. I don't care for that. Radiance I like. That's a little strong, but I like it. Strong is strong. Sun glow I don't care for. Sunshine, that looks all right. Warm highlights is the most subtle of them. But I think we'll go with natural. I like that. Then what the sunshine filter tends to do, it tends to like obliterate a little bit of the detail in the highlights. And if I do dynamic contrast after that, it tends to bring that all back. So I like that. And then I think we'll go for our vignette. And let's see what a strong vignette looks like. See, I don't like that. Soft. Soft's a little better, but we're going to pull it back just a little bit. Okay, I kind of like that. So we'll go apply. Okay, so there's our On1 image. Now this is the copy that we sent over to On1, but I had to make a copy of it because we cropped it. Remember, if we look at the crop? So I'm going to delete that. All right, so delete from disk. So what we have here is there is our original image. No processing done to it at all. Here is the image only processed in Lightroom from start to finish. And here is the image that was done partly in Lightroom, and we eliminated noise in Topaz Denoise, and then we sent it over to On1 Effects 10 to finish it off. And we'll look at all three together. Okay, there's the original, there's the Lightroom, and there's the On1 image to the top left. So that's it. And like I said, this one, uh, I cropped it. What I felt was the best way to exploit what was good in the image and minimize what was bad in the image. It's still something I prefer you do in camera. You could have really had a super shot, I think. Um, of course, that boat, I don't know how fast it was going, how fast you could get up there, get down low, shoot up, focus. A lot of stuff to think about. So I understand that. But thank you very much for sharing your image with us. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I truly do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.